Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a great year so far, and as you can tell, I'm using a different chair. My other chair just recently broke on me, and yesterday was my birthday, so this was my birthday gift, and I'm very, very happy with it. Now, I actually did lower the chair as low as I can, but it's still pretty tall over the monitors and everything, and I had to hire the tripod and angle the microphone and everything differently, so I might have to record everything differently. Might just try to find another chair, a foldable chair, even if I use it just for specifically these types of videos, and that way I could just record a lot easier without having to change everything out. But I will say, though, that when I finally caught up on Naruto Shippuden, which was last week, I chose a very good time to do it. Not just because we had to wait an extra week for the next episode, because I was going to watch the next episode. It was actually on Thursday morning that I caught up, and I was going to watch episode 344, but then I saw, oh, we have to wait till next week, which is today, of course. And it was a very good time because episode 343, which still sounds kind of weird saying that, but episode 343 ended in a very good way. It really did. It was kind of a cliffhanger, but it still was just a very good place to kind of stop at, I guess you could say. And I kind of wish I actually stopped on that before, and then coming back on to 344 would have been, a lot easier, but still ended in a very good way. Now, for episode 344, this was an episode that had a lot of things that we were looking very forward to, and a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time. And try not to do any spoilers in the comment section, please, for those of you that are caught up in the manga, which I am too, but I guess you could say I'm kind of on and off on that. I still like watching the episodes and everything. But this episode was mostly about Obito, and Kakashi was really freaked out over finding out that it was Obito behind the mask and everything. And it was bound to happen eventually, but as he figured it out, which was a very smart way that he figured it out, and it was very cool, but he is still just so shaken up, which I can't blame him, really. After finding out one of the person that one of the most best friends you've ever had, one of the people that's been one of your biggest pieces of inspiration, or one of the most important memories of your life, I guess you could say, seeing that come back to life in a very bad way is not exactly something that you would take lightly to. Now, in this episode, we finally got to get a good idea. We didn't get all of it, but we got a good idea of how Madara, or not Madara, but how Obito is still alive right now. Because that's the biggest question, at least for those of you that are watching the episodes and not reading the manga, because it's a really big question. It's something that you often would very, very wonder about. I mean, it's not something that is that simple of an answer, and seeing that he's alive and everything is pretty crazy. And I must say, for Naruto and them, I feel very sorry just because they're both going against Obito and Madara right now, and stuff's about to get pretty crazy, but at least Naruto is in full, I guess you could say, working with the Nine Tails very well, so that's really good. And this episode, it gave us a little bit of what we wanted, but I felt like in a couple of parts that it gave us too many flashbacks, because we keep on getting flashbacks of when they were on that really big tree branch, and when Kakashi got slashed in the eye and everything, and how Obito, he awakened his Sharingan, or at least, the eyes, right then and there, and that was a really great time, and he saved Kakashi and everything. And, it was strange because I thought at first that we actually ended up getting what we didn't want. It's like, okay, I know what they're about to show us, and then it stopped, and then it started going back to the present, and then it went back to the past and showed us the part of him, awaking it and then attacking the guy and saving Kakashi and everyone. So, I mean, it was very weird because at first I thought they were going to give us pretty much everything but what we were actually should have been shown, because he was talking about him waking up his powers and everything, and it was very weird, but it felt too much like flashback at that point. But we didn't see very much in this episode, surprisingly, so I will give them a thumbs up on that. But I still felt like they could have just showed up that very specific part where he saved Kakashi, and that's it. They could have, because they've showed us that flashback a lot of times. I could easily say probably half a dozen times within the last 10 plus episodes. I mean, they've showed us this many, many times. And when we actually saw Obito, I must say, they did throw in a little bit of sense of humor as far as like when he was wrapped up and everything, and the way he woke up and he started freaking out like, oh my god, it must be death, and he saw the scythe and everything, and it was really funny and unexpected, honestly, because when you see these kind of episodes, you kind of expect something that's very serious and very mature overall. But in this episode, there was a little bit of humor in there, but it felt like I don't know how to say it. Not exactly a dead humor, but just, it was a little bit of humor, but it wasn't exactly funny either. It was just something they put in there. It wasn't quite necessary, but, at least they tried, and it didn't completely fail. But at least we got a good idea of, how Obito was after he got brought back, or at least, he got helped, keep him from dying and everything like that, and got patched up by Madara. But when I must say that the episode did start towards the end, getting to a part where, Obito, I must say he had a very great mindset. He didn't change that quickly. And the episode ended where Obito is, he's wanting to go save his friends. And Madara ended up having a really great talk with him and telling him many things that, honestly, when we're little, or just about any human is, we take those words very lightly. And if he was an older person, he would really pay close attention to those words because those are words from a very older person, which he didn't know at the time when he was hearing at least the first big rant that Madara was going on. And he didn't know who he was, so he didn't know that those words are something that you wouldn't take lightly from someone as old as him. It would be something that you would maybe like try to figure out, or it might be a lesson or something, or you might learn something out of those words. But he still ended up being a little bit on the stubborn side, and he wants to go help Kakashi and all of them, and just to live. And the episode kind of ended up with a cliffhanger of him trying to go help Rin and Kakashi. So I mean, it kind of ended up on a cliffhanger that I kind of didn't want it to. I wish it was maybe just a little bit longer. And since we did wait 2 weeks, I was hoping that we would have actually gotten 2 episodes. But I will say, though, that as far as the animation and everything goes, they did do a great job on that on this episode. And most of the time on these kind of episodes that we've been waiting for a very long time, we usually don't want them to have bad animation whatsoever. It's like one of those episodes, it's like, you better not screw up on that stuff. And they didn't. And I guess you could say that's what we kind of got for waiting 2 weeks for this episode. And at least they did held up to their expectations on that stuff. So the animation and everything was great. It felt a little bit fillerish, but they did not go very far. It was maybe just a few parts and that's it. It wasn't like half the episode was just complete fillers. And we got to see, a little bit of humor, which, wasn't completely dead, and they didn't completely fail either. And it was still good to see them at least try to do that. And we're starting to learn of how Obito really became what he is right now in the present after being, saved by Madara. And I have a really great idea of how it's going to go down. I have a really strong gut feeling that has to do with him trying to get to Kakashi and end up seeing something he did not want to see, and then suddenly his mind just explodes with anger, and he suddenly just, he goes crazy, and then he goes back to Madara, and then something. I don't know. I'm not going to spoil anything. I have read the manga. I don't quite remember how this ends, but I'm not going to read it either. I want to see how this ends because it's just one more episode, and we could start learning more about this stuff. Now, one thing I will say, though, that I really did enjoy was seeing Madara and Naruto actually fight each other head-on. Even though it was only for a little while, we got to see Madara finally use his weapon that Obito has been using for quite a while. And when I saw Obito throw it back to Madara, I was very excited to actually see Madara use the weapon. And when I saw him reflect Naruto's attack on him, I must say that weapon is definitely going to be pretty awesome to see him keep on using, and it's definitely something definitely good to use against Naruto, especially since Naruto is pretty dang strong, and if he could just keep on reflecting those types of attacks, then this is something that's going to make the battles very, very interesting overall. So I would give this episode a 4.3 overall. It was a great episode overall. They did a great job. They held up on the animation. They could have messed up on so many parts. They didn't put too much filler, and they didn't mess up as much as, you normally expect. There was a little bit of tint of some things that they could have done so much worse on, but they didn't do that. They didn't trip themselves. I could make it that easy. So anyways, that's it for this review. I can't wait to see next week's episode. I'm sure you guys can't either. I mean, it's very exciting, and to see this episode as the first episode for 2014, I must say, makes me look very forward to the next episodes. But anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.